Now let's talk about the actual cards of the game. There is two major categories of cards. We have the Waifur/character cards right here, and we have the program cards. The program cards also have several different types within them. So let's take a peek at the character cards first. So as you can see, we have the portrait of the character in the middle. We have the name of the character on the side, on the right side. Top left, there is the card level. This is the same for programs and Waifur character cards. Now, the character cards have HP, which stands for health points / hit points, whatever you want to call it. We also have the megabytes, the total megabytes of this card. Basically, the megabytes, the amount of programs she can install. We also have these icons on the bottom, which represent the card mastery, whatever cards this character has mastered. Every card in the game can install and use every card, every program available. However, characters with mastery are more efficient, therefore can use these cards for a cheaper price. We will be talking about that in a second. Now, as for levels, as you can see, we got level 2 and level 3 character cards. The level 2 and 3, they are very similar, however, they get increased stats over time. When you upgrade your character throughout gameplay, you notice the HP and megabytes go up, as well as adding new masteries, which is why we're holding this like this. As we play the game, they are placed on the field like that. Character cards also, they are not really color-coded. This one's blue, this one's orange, but this is because the characters themselves have 3 major colors, which is number 1, the black for their inner suit. We also have the outer armor / suit, which is a primary color, and we also have a so-called energy color, which is their hair, their eyes, as well as anything that is energy. For Lasagna's example here, we have her green armor or clothing, we have the black, of course, and we have the energy color being orange. And the card design of the character cards is just based around the character's energy color. The programs, however, are a little bit different. The programs is where all the card effects are. Now, as you can see here, we got different colors. These are, however, not color-coded after the characters. Instead, they are color-coded after the card type. We're gonna show that off in a second. Now, programs. Program cards always have the icon at the top, which, like I said, can be or are also available on the character cards for mastery. We also have the level, just as the character cards do. We have where the character cards would have HP and megabytes. The program cards have program points, short PP, and megabytes. The program points and HP work similar, as that is the damage the card can take. If a card takes damage and damage is equal to or greater than the hit points, or in this case program points, the card is then therefore deleted. As for the megabytes, this is very simple. The character cards have their maximum megabyte they can store in programs, while the program's megabytes is how much they cost. So if you want to install this program to this character, it will cost her 20 of her 60 megabytes, meaning she can store up to 3 of these at once. Other programs might have different prices, so if she wanted to use a Zap Cloak, she can only have 2 of those active at a time. And as you level up your characters, they will have more megabytes, therefore can store more programs. We also have on the top right, we have the cost of the card. This cost is split into 2 values. We have the base, I hope you can read this, base and extra cost, 1 plus 1. This means the total cost of this card is 2. We will go into how to pay cost in a bit. However, the reason this is split is because of the mastery system. If a character you want to install a program to has said mastery, then the extra cost, the second number, becomes 0. Therefore, this card is cheaper to use for the appropriate character. Every character can use and install every program in the game. However, working with mastery makes it easier and cheaper to do. So, total cost would be 2 for this card. If mastery, total cost would only be 1. There's also some cards that have other values here, of course. This card would be a total cost of 4, if mastery only 2. If we have a card like this one, it would be total cost of 1, if mastery it would be for free. Next up we got the critical and power values, short crit and PWR. These are only available on the cards that actually have an attack command, which is seen right here. And it's pretty simple. During combat, we will explain the exact rules later on. If a card deals damage to a Waifur by attack, then the character will take damage equal to the critical damage. So this is basically the damage the character takes, while the power is the damage a program takes. So critical damage against characters, power damage or program damage against programs. That's why we split HP and PP. Of course, we have the name of the card, of the program right here. Above the program, there's a little space. Some cards may have extra little text here with some icons. These are card-specific effect card tags. Technically, these are also can also be standing in this first line here, just like the reversal written right here in full color. But these are specifically above the name because these have special effects, which we will be going into later on. Now, the first line of the text area here, the first line is always the type line. This is where we can see the card type. And the first thing we can see is this curly bracket, or the curly brackets with the name of the type. This one's saying weapon. So the card colors, as I mentioned earlier, the color coding is equal to the card type. So weapon is purple. We also have like support being blue. We have virus cards being red, constructs being gray, and skill cards being green. There is also more, but in general, all these cards function almost the same. The only exclusion to the rule is the green ones, the skill cards, as these do not have megabytes or program points. This is because these are like quick use, one-time use cards, and because they don't have program points and megabytes, that means two things. Number one, you can install an unlimited amount of these cards at once, as they do not use up any of the megabyte space. But it also means that since they don't have program points, they cannot take damage, but however, they will delete themselves after use. So if you use a card of these skill types, you can use all their effects, and afterwards it deletes itself. While the other cards can stay on the field until their damage reaches their program points. After the weapon type, there may or may not be a slash with another box tag and a text in between. Like here it says melee. If these are white or dual colored, like for example here we got static in yellow with different colored brackets, then this means these are simple tags. These are called card tags. And any of these card tags, the only meaning they don't have card effects. It's for other card effects to recognize these cards for specific conditions. They are only used for conditions. So if a card effect, for example, states 2+ cards with static face up in cooldown, that's where these come into play. They are for conditions. And these card effects here, these special little names here, remote for example, which have card effects, these are technically also box bracket names that could be standing here. They are also card tags, however with effects. Going into detail on these later. Now, and finally we have the actual effect text areas, which is below the first line. There can be multiple of these. Each card can have multiple effects. Each effect is headed by a backslash with a certain color. There you can have either a single green backslash, two blue backslash, or triple red backslash. The difference here being the simple green one is a so-called manual effect. Therefore, the player has to manually call out to use this card effect. For the blue ones being automatic ones, they will automatically trigger if the condition is met. Conditions always being written within these round-shaped brackets, like right here. We have the blue one, then we got targeted by attack. This is a condition. Green ones can also have conditions. And red ones are also called global effects. They are the same as the automatic ones, with one difference. The green and the blue ones can only be used if the card is installed and enabled. However, the red ones will always trigger as long as the condition is met, no matter what, even if the card is still in your hand or somewhere else on the field or disabled, like mentioned before. So red ones are just simply globally available effects. Like, for example, here, deleted. If this card is deleted, send it to cooldown as face up. That is a global effect, as it will trigger even when this card is deleted. So that's pretty much everything about the cards. Now, within some of the card effects, like this one, we have attack melee here. They are surrounded by angled brackets. These angled brackets, all that means is this is a card effect with more text, and it's called a common card effect. So basically, these are keywords for specific effects that a lot of cards have. You can find the exact rulings on the ruling cards or on the website. So attack just does a thing. Attack itself is a card effect in this game, and yeah, that's pretty much that.